What's up, everybody? So glad that you clicked on this link. Today, we're going to be talking about the University of Pennsylvania Supplemental Essays. I'm pretty stoked right now. It's 10:45 in the night, and I'm just full of energy. So let's get into it. UPenn is obviously a very difficult school to get into. So submitting the best possible essays you can is a big deal. Let's talk about the first prompt, which is a pretty normal prompt for colleges to ask, which is considering the specific undergraduate school you have selected, how will you explore your academic and intellectual interests at the University of Pennsylvania? So there's a few key things here. You'll see a lot of schools ask something like, why our school, in different terms. So something that you should notice here is that they're asking you to mention things about the specific undergraduate school that you're selecting. So if you're going to arts and sciences or engineering or architecture or nursing, you have to really hone in on that specific school and talk about the resources that that school is providing. What sorts of professors are you going to have access to? What sort of classes are you going to have access to? What sort of research opportunities are you going to have access to? And those types of things. The other thing that you should make sure you're looking at is both academic and intellectual interests. So it's not just inside the classroom, what classes are you taking, and what classes you're taking, but it's also outside of the classroom, what extracurriculars are going to be involved in, what clubs and what research opportunities might you want to pursue, what organizations do you want to participate in, and ultimately, how are you going to use your time both in and out of the classroom to help yourself and to help the UPenn community grow based on your current interests. So really, there's a couple of things that you want to talk about that's not really mentioned so far. So the first thing is you want to talk about what your current academic and intellectual interests are. You'll notice that the essay prompts, this is really the only place that you can really talk about what your current interests are. You want to, I just made a video about this, but you want to try to connect your disparate interests into something that is unique and very interesting. So if you're interested in both computer science and physics, you can talk about how you're very interested in this specific subset of that. But the more specific you can get with what you're interested in, the more unique you are, and the more you actually can demonstrate what you like. It doesn't really have to be a connection of multiple things. You can be interested in math, but you should be able to identify what specifically about math is really interesting to you, or what subset of questions is really interesting to you. And if you can get kind of specific about why some field is interesting to you, or what about that field is interesting to you, you can really convey and show how you're interested in that field. So that's the first thing. You have to show what field you're interested in or what intellectual interest you currently have. Second thing is you have to be able to mention the specific opportunities that you would have at UPenn that would help facilitate and develop your interest in your current interest in whatever field you have. So if you're interested in biology and medicine, and you want to be pre-med at UPenn, the first thing to establish is why you're interested in the fields that you're interested in. So for me, I was really interested in biology, and I described some of the books that I read, David Deutsch, The Beginning of Infinity, how science was sort of this, how explanatory knowledge was really connected to the idea of human improvement. And I also talked about some of my interest in genomics and using modern medicine to sort of identify illnesses before they occur. And so when you identify these intellectual interests, it's much easier to connect what opportunities you're going to get access to at UPenn. So the second thing you have to do is identify very specific resources that you would seek out once you're a student at UPenn. And so when I'm editing people's essays, what I often see is pretty generic ideas like I'm going to have access to world-class facilities and I'm going to have access to world-class professors. You really want to be specific with who you're going to seek out, what clubs you're going to be part of, what communities you're going to want to be a part of, and why this school specifically is going to help you. Okay, the third thing is you want to really explain how you're going to grow and develop as a result of seeking these opportunities. So a lot of these clubs that you might see at UPenn or a lot of the classes you might take, a lot of them you can find at other schools but you want to be specific about what uniquely at UPenn will help you grow and develop your skill sets. So if you're interested in app development and web development, and there's specific opportunities at UPenn that you wouldn't find anywhere else, those are the types of things you want to mention. And then you also want to mention what the growth opportunity is for yourself, so you can become a better programmer, you can become a better software engineer, and you can ultimately both contribute back to the community and also help develop yourself. And so what they're looking for is people who will grow as a result of inquiry and who will really, really go out there and be scrappy and find the solutions to whatever problems they're facing. And so if imagine that you were a university staff or administrator and making the admission decision, you want somebody who's going to be able to seek out resources and make use of the resources as much as possible. And so that's what you have the opportunity to do in the first prompt. All right, if you have a question about the first prompt, leave it below in the comment section and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. Let's move on to the second prompt. So the second prompt, I think I have to make myself smaller here. Second prompt is, at Penn, learning and growth happens outside of the classroom too. How will you explore the community at Penn? Consider how this community will help shape your perspective and identity, how your identity and perspective will shape this community. Okay, so there's some overlap between the last question and this question. They want to talk about outside of the classroom. They're talking about community. And so the important thing here is that there's not a clear definition of community. So you have the responsibility to define community however you think is best. So it can be cultural community, but it can also be academic community. You can find a chemistry club, and you can also find an Asian American club or an African American club. You can find any sort of club at University of Pennsylvania, or you can find any sort of community, and you want to mention how you can both explore this community, contribute to this community, and grow from this community. And so the key here is that you want to describe, one, that it's a community that you're currently really, really passionate about. So ideally, you would have some sort of sense of that community already. Maybe you're a part of it, or maybe you've always wanted to be a part of it. Second thing is that you want to be able to show why going to Penn and further exploring this community would really help you grow as a person. And so it's not enough for you to say that you're interested in the community. It's also an important thing to say that as a result of joining the community and contributing to the community, that you would be able to grow as a result as well. Once again, it's a pretty short essay prompt, so you have to make sure that every word and every sentence counts. And yeah, if you have any questions about this prompt, please leave a comment below, and once again, I'll get back to you. This was a pretty short video because, well, there's only 2 prompts, but I hope that you put the time and effort that it requires from you, and I know that you're going to do great. Rooting for you. Thanks so much for watching. If you haven't already, please like and subscribe. It really helps me out, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye, guys.